Welcome to the show. My name is Sophia Wanuna. So as we mentioned, polling stations are opening across the UK at this hour as millions of people cast their vote in the snap general election. A total of 650 Westminster MPs will be elected, with about 46.9 million people registered to vote. That is up from the last general election in 2015, when there were 46.4 million registered voters. Some votes have already been cast through postal voting, which accounted for 16.4% of the total electorate of the 2015 general election. Before the election, the Prime Minister laid out plans for a so-called hard Brexit, which would see Britain leave the European single market and sever almost all ties with the EU. Kenaseka reports on the final campaigns in the make or break vote for Prime Minister Theresa May.
Whether Corbyn stood a chance of seizing power from the incumbent Conservative PM.
We're not the party of the billionaires. We're not the party of the corporate elite. We're the party of the people.
On April 18th, the PM called the election seeking to boost her parliamentary majority ahead of the start of Brexit negotiations and to win more time to deal with the impact of the EU exit.
The question is, who do you trust to have the strong and stable leadership to get the best deal for Britain in Europe? Because Brexit matters. It is the basis for everything else.
Besides the terror attacks, the campaign has seen the shrinking of May's once commanding poll lead of more than 20% points over Corbyn.
They've starved public services who rely on those resources because at every turn the Conservatives have chosen tax giveaways for the few over public services for the many.
Liberal Democrat leader Tim Farron, who's trailing significantly behind May and Corbyn, has vowed to hold a second referendum on final Brexit deal if he wins this election.
I cannot stand back and allow the Leave campaign to guide us towards economic ruin because of a campaign based on lies. How betrayed will people feel if they vote to leave Europe?
In his final campaign remarks, Corbyn said he was preparing for government and vowing to tackle austerity and increasing spending on health, education, security and welfare. While opinion polls have showed that May's gamble to call the vote to bolster her position in Brexit negotiation will pay off, others see it as a tighter race. And may the best candidate win this election. Kenaseka, KTN News.
All right, so many nations are keenly watching the outcome of this election, Kenya included. Now, one of those who will be voting this morning is Kenyan-born Councillor Elizabeth Kang'ethe, a former mayor of Borough of Barking and Dunningham in London. She now joins us live by way of phone. Good morning, Elizabeth. I know the polling stations are just opening across London. So just paint for us a picture of the mood there on the ground today.
Well, it looks at the moment. Oh, good morning, Kenya. Like you said, my name is Elizabeth, Councillor Kang'ethe. The mood at the moment on the ground is kind of quiet now. You know, I don't know how the turnout is going to be. The polls are just about to open. Like you say, it's 7, already, but it's very, very quiet, business as usual to everybody. But obviously, we expect everything to pick up within the next maybe half an hour or so. So we are all set, and I've already seen 1 or 2 people queuing, especially at the polling station where I've been. I will just be walking around in my ward and just see what's happening and just make sure that everything is set. So hopefully within the next half an hour, we will see a bit of move, people coming in to vote as they go to work. Because, you realize that nothing stops on the day apart from the schools, which have the polling stations. People will be going to work as usual. So we're just waiting. And, it's usually a low turnout, although this year we expect quite a big turnout. People are really, kind of ready to go and see the change.
Right. So the Prime Minister Theresa May called for this snap election, monitoring and looking at how events have been unfolding in the United Kingdom. Do you think her gamble will pay off, or will the latest developments like terrorism deny her an opportunity to continue with her agenda?
you know what? I've been going around, we've been campaigning, ever since she called the snap gen election and knocking on the doors. You find there's that very, very desperate residents, especially where I live. Because there's been so many of us have been affected. And I'm speaking on behalf of the residents, especially in my ward. Generally, people want that change. But whether they turn out, they go and vote, because, it's one thing to say that they are fed up. It's one thing to go and vote. It might not pay off for her. It might make the change that people really want, because people are fed up with the cuts, with the austerity that is happening, the welfare, the security, So we, fingers crossed, we're hoping to see that change that we so desire at the moment.
Right, and opinion polls have been showing her lead dwindling against the Labour Party, initially at around 20 points, now going as low as 4. Of course, we've seen those opinion polls being proven wrong in the past. But what is the sentiment there in as far as priority? Because Brexit was the big story at the time the snap election was being called. But the past 3 months, terror has been on the front lines for Britain.
Well, in the first place, that Brexit, I think the people we are talking to, because we do door-to-door campaigns, I think this was not made clear. People did not really understand what's going to happen, the effects of Brexit. So, they feel the effects now. People have already realized that, most of the people have realized that it was the wrong move. And, it's really going to them. Because most of the people voted on one issue. They really spoke about immigration. And so the ordinary British thought, okay, with the European Union, the immigration has really affected their country and all that, but they never saw the other side of the coin. So we really having, it's fingers crossed, because personally I was a Remainer, and it's most of the people. So I do not see that really being her main point, because Theresa May has just been campaigning on the Brexit, talking about the hard Brexit. Brexit needs a strong person and all that. But we are looking on the other side of the coin. In her government, people have been affected adversely. It's really been very negative. So we have fingers crossed that it's not just going to be the Brexit vote that is going to affect. It's not going to work for her, I believe. So the opinion polls, they are there, but sometimes the opinion polls have proved to be wrong.
Right, and in as far as securing Britain at this time, where many are concerned going forward with the attacks we've witnessed in the last 3 months, 3 months, 3 attacks, what have they been saying in their campaigns? What are their strategies? What is it they intend to do, and is that resonating with the people?
Sorry, did you talk about the security?
Yes.
I really do not want to go down that line, because it's like you may understand, it's quite a sensitive issue, affecting the whole nation, and at the moment with what is happening with all the investigations being carried out. But one thing I know is that there's been the cuts, the police cuts and all that, and people believe that kind of affects. So, I really do not want to go on the security issue, but it's one of the issues that really Corbyn and the Labour Party and all the other small parties have been talking about, that ever since 2010, when the Tories came in, there's been the drastic cut in the security, and I believe it could have been better. And you can see within 3 weeks, 3 months, and all these strikes and all these attacks. So I believe the security is a major, major issue that is really going to be a negative effect on the Tory government.
In as far as their policies are concerned, and talking about Kenya, quote unquote, who would Kenya be rooting for in such an election going forward in the relations between the two countries?
Well, the bilateral relationships remain the same with the UK, but I believe there's a way we can make it stronger, especially now with the Kenya. I think people are working from a distance. And, with the outcome of a peaceful election, I believe there's so much that still can go on, whether Tories, whether Labour, whichever government comes in. Although with the Brexit, I know there will be a few changes. And for some people, they believe it's going to be a positive effect. And they believe, especially with the trade and all that, they believe it's for the better. But at the moment, I'm looking for, the outcome. And I'm also thinking of Kenya, a peaceful election, the outcome, whatever happens, maybe that, the relationship may tighten, may be better, may strengthen, but I do not know, on the ground in Kenya. I've been following it, I do follow very closely, and I'll be coming over after this, for some time just to monitor and see what is happening and assist where I can. But, the relationships, we'd like that to be strengthened. We'd like that to be better, in terms of trade and whatever we do with the because Kenya still remains one of the strong ties with the UK.
All right. Many thanks, Elizabeth Kang'ethe, for speaking with us this morning live from London. That's Elizabeth Kang'ethe, who is Kenyan-born, but was also a former councillor and former mayor as well in Britain. So we'll be getting more details from her as we continue with our coverage this morning and throughout the day. Those are live pictures for you from London, one of the polling stations, Arlington, I believe. So you can see there not too much activity, a few people walking in and out, but voting definitely underway in the UK today. A big day for them, and it's an election we'll continue to monitor throughout the day and throughout this hour. Let's now bring in a former journalist, Lisa Maranga, who resettled in the UK, but is now back in Kenya on a break. Lisa joins us live from her hometown, Nakuru. Lisa, as a Kenyan who has lived, and good morning to you, and worked in the UK over the years, what would you say is the major concern for diaspora voters in this election?
Thank you for having me on your show. I would say, as a diasporan living in the UK and having lived there and obviously now based there, and looking at these elections as how are they going to impact my livelihood in the UK, I think the most important thing, obviously, the key issue will be Brexit, and post-Brexit, what actually happens after that in terms of me going my day-to-day life in the United Kingdom. So another issue that would be of concern to myself would be the security in the UK, and also immigration as well, because going forward, immigration will also impact on how we're able to move our people from Kenya to the UK. So, I've been listening a little bit. I've been away, like you said, I'm on a break, so I'm a little bit out of touch with what's going on in the political circles in the United Kingdom. But I have been listening to the different parties, and from what their manifestos is telling us, I think for me as a diasporan, I will mainly be looking at, in terms of immigration, what happens. So Labour is saying that if they win today, they win this vote, they will be introducing or reintroducing the immigration fund, so that there's a lot of talk and a lot of tension based on the fact that immigration has caused a negative impact on public services to some areas in the United Kingdom. So what Labour will do is they will introduce the immigration fund, and that will help ease these public services. They will also remove students in the quota, or the immigration quotas, that what they use these quotas to determine how many people are allowed into the UK every year. So you've got the Conservatives that are saying if they win, they're going to reduce the immigration net immigration by tens of thousands. What they'll do as well is that they will toughen requirements for student visas, and they'll also make it hard for students after completing their studies to stay, like I did, to work in the United Kingdom. Another thing that they will do as well, so if you live in the UK and you're trying to bring your spouse into the UK, they're going to be increasing the income that you are allowed to have or to earn in a year in order for you to bring your family into the United Kingdom, which is hard enough as it is because the minimum wage is quite low. So those are some of the things for me that I think are important. And yeah, so that is what really I think is influencing what a diaspora in the UK will be voting.
All right,
or how they will be voting.
All right, many thanks, Lisa Maranga, live for us from Nakuru, a Kenyan, however, living in the UK, currently visiting the country, telling us what her concerns, and perhaps for most non-British will be thinking as the country goes to the polls.